This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners, meet Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow with your business. Quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
Welcome to the Coaching Coordinator Network Weekly Game Planning Tips Series presented by Lawrence First and Goal Clinic. Each week, we bring you insights from coaches across the country on offense, defense, and special teams to help you sharpen your game plan and find that edge on Friday night or Saturday afternoon. Lawrence First and Goal is a nonprofit started in 2004 by John and Marianne Luce in honor of their daughter, Lauren, a pediatric brain tumor survivor. Since its founding, the organization has raised nearly $3 million for pediatric brain tumor research and family support services. Each March, they host their annual virtual clinic featuring some of the best coaches in the game. To learn more, get involved, or donate, visit lawrencefirstandgoal.org. The link is in the show notes. This week's theme is identity and discipline, how you define who you are as a team, stress the opponent with formation choices, and eliminate mistakes in the kicking game. We'll start on offense with Ian Shoemaker, offensive coordinator at Grand Valley State. His focus this week is on formation into the boundary, how you can use FIB concepts to stress defenses and force them to show their hand. Let's listen to what Coach Shoemaker has to say about how formation choices can dictate structure and create matchup advantages.
Okay, next one that we put on our checklist for breaking down film and needing to have an answer for is formation in the boundary, FIB, right? Our basic fib mentality here. Again, putting the strength of the formation on the opposite side of the formation, or putting it to the boundary side of the formation. So, if we're on the left hash here, putting 3 receivers into the left side of the formation in a 3-by-1 alignment. I don't care attached, unattached tight end, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying put what is a normal formation and put the strength of that, or as the defense would dictate strength of that formation, putting that into the short side of the field. Big thing for us is anytime we go FIB, we're always going to ask the first question is going to be, are they going to move the nickel, right? Are they going to move whoever the field outside backer is, whoever the field strong safety is, whoever that field overhang is, 3-4, 4-2 nickel, whatever defensive structure is, for the most part with 11 personnel, which what we live in for the most part, to the field, to a 2 receiver remove, you're going to have an apex player. Is that apex player going to move into the boundary, right? If he moves into the boundary, now they can keep their structure of 6 backers, or their 6 box with the 2 linebackers in the box, or are they going to bump their backers with that nickel personnel into the boundary? All right. So again, as we look at the structure of most defensive teams that we look at, right, saying that this 2-backer box with a nickel to the field, saying we're on the left hash here, right? We're on the left hash. And if I put a formation into the boundary like this, right, what is that guy going to do? Is that guy going to move, rock and roll with the safety, right? Or are they going to bump this thing across, just like we talked about with the motion piece, right? One way to kind of do it, right? So again, if they leave him out here, will they remove, as we look at this, right? The Mike middle backer and the Will, right? These guys want to live on the formation. They want to be in the box with their 4 down linemen. They want to live in the box and let the nickel and the strong safety, free safety, all those guys cover down all the RPO pieces, right? We talked about that earlier as far as being, every defensive coordinator's mentality right now, right? But now if you're not going to move the nickel in the boundary, I need to know, are they going to take this bad dude, this neck roll out of the box and cover down on our 3 receiver surface? Or are they going to rock and roll that safety down and dictate a 1 high for sure? How are they going to do that? And are they going to move these guys back into the box and the nickel becomes my sixth player in the formation? Well, that can be an advantage to me. I got a 180-pound nickel out here who becomes an inside the box linebacker that we can put physical hands on with our guard, in our combinations. And I can move a 230-pound linebacker out over this formation and make him a cover down player on this deal. That's an advantage. I've taken a good run stopper and put him in a situation that's hard on him. And I've taken a good cover down player and put him back in a run stopping situation in that nickel piece, right? So that's the first thing I want to know. Does the nickel stay to the field, right? Does this, field adjuster stay to the field, or does he move into the boundary with us? And then what happens if we move the formation back fast with motion, which we talked about as well? So again, I think that is an easy way to start a FIB conversation is in the 3x1, right? Put the 3x1 in the boundary, see what that field overhang is going to do. The apex player that's normally over number 2 of the field, how is he going to align when we put that stuff all crammed into the boundary side? And again, build out a plan for when the will walks out. Okay, how do I get physical hands on that nickel in the run game? And if he does go across and add to the formation in the boundary, how fast are they and how well do they adjust if we move from FIB back to normal open 2x2 possibly on that move? So again, some of those answers as we go through. The other thing is, don't forget about FIB from a 2x2 mentality. You don't have to be 3x1 and wide open to get to an FIB. I can have my tight end just, again, saying this is left hash again, right? I can just have a tight end alignment, and putting these two guys into the boundary still provides a stressor, right? How is, again, this nickel going to defend the wide side of the field? Is he going to get into the box? How do they move and adjust all those things? So I think sometimes guys just think, we're just going to get a 3x1 if I'm going to call an FIB. I think there's still some serious structure issues for these nickel teams and quarters teams in just a basic 2x2 11 personnel formation. And then, like I said, what we talk about at the end here is layering, right? Okay, now I put the Y off and I've FIB and I put the Z up and on. How does that affect eyes and how they deal with fast flow pause players as we start layering the stressors in our game plan? So again, next thing we look at in our breakdown is FIB, right? How are they going to do that? First simple question is, what are they doing with the field apex player? Is he going to ever align in the boundary? If he's never going to align in the boundary, then we have a lot of answers. We know they have to walk the will, or they got to roll the safety down in the boundary, give us one high. All right, that's it, right? Or they got to drop an end in the boundary and play the hybrid 3-down stuff, right? So again, there's just a couple of different answers, but we know they'll never move that nickel to the field or that apex player to the field into the boundary. There's only a couple of different ways that they can align and defend the formation. But if they do put that nickel into the boundary, is that because they're in man? Do they have a pressure on? Is there something that they want to keep the mic and the will, connected and in the box in that 6-man mentality of building that run blocks with 6 guys? All those things tell you something. So again, having that answer at the end of the breakdown, I think, is important. How are they going to play FIB? They're going to keep the nickel to the field the whole time. Okay, that informs our game plan. All right, so I have that answer, as we're breaking down the film. Okay.
This is a real good story about Bronx and his dad, Ryan, real United Airlines customers.
We were returning home, and one of the flight attendants asked Bronx if he wanted to see the flight deck and meet Captain Andrew.
I got to sit in the driver's seat.
I grew up in an aviation family, and seeing Bronx kind of reminded me of myself when I was that age.
That's Andrew, a real United pilot.
These small interactions can shape a kid's future.
It felt like I was the captain.
Allowing my son to see the flight deck will stick with us forever.
That's how good leads the way.
Coach Shoemaker's breakdown shows why every offensive coach should have an FIB plan. By forcing the defense to declare whether they'll move their nickel or adjust with linebackers, you uncover leverage opportunities. His advice is clear. Stress the defense early, gather information, and use it to your advantage. From offensive structure, we move to defensive identity, where effort, culture, and accountability define who you are as a unit. On defense, Dante Bartee, analyst at Oregon, shows how he builds clarity and accountability through a tool he calls Who We Are and Who We're Not. It's about scheme, it's about effort, physicality, and setting the standard. Here's Coach Bartee explaining how defining who you are on film builds the foundation for consistent performance.
One of the things we did at Ottawa that I took from my time at Southern Miss is we have a who we are, who we not tape. And so when we would watch as a defense, we would watch the tape. I didn't take every single clip and watch with the players, right? That was the position coach's job, right? That was the position coach's job. But what I did is I made a tape of who we are, who we not. And who we are, who we not wasn't necessarily schematic, right? It wasn't schematic problems or errors. It was effort related. It was shots on the ball. It was getting knocked back at the line of scrimmage. It was those type of things, those hidden details within the game, right? They get lost in the schematic and strategic evaluation of performance that really create the environment for success. And it reconstitutes, it solidifies that environment. And it allows you, and I think this is probably the most important thing, it allows you to push them even harder. That's what allows you to get them to perform even higher. Not them dealing with how you coach them, but showing them that how you coach them creates better performance, and then striving to create even better performance, then setting the standard even higher, because that's what makes it attainable. That's what makes it attainable. You know, I had a coach say to me one time, I didn't quite understand at first, but a coach I know one time said, when your team is really bad, you coach them differently or with less intensity, more understanding than when your team is really good. And I always thought it would be in reverse, right? When your team is bad, you try to coach them harder. When your team is good, you try to let them ride. Well, I now understand, having coordinated a few different times, twice now, one in high school and in college, that it is exactly what he said. Because the better your players are, the easier it is for them to lose all those intangibles that got to them to that place in the first place, or not have them at all, right? Because the kid is just better. And so if you want to get them from their floor to their ceiling, which is our job, right? We can't change their genetics. We can't change what I call the 10%, right? We can only change the 90%. So you got to do your 90%, win the 90%. If we want to be able to get them from their floor to their ceiling, we have to show them that ceiling is possible. We have to push them to get there. So it's extremely important, in my opinion, that you are constantly evaluating the process-based approach to your performance and how you're interacting with your players to set the standards, expectations, and values of organization, and then positively confronting them when those things don't occur and showing them why those things matter. And if you can't do that, then it either needs to not be a part of the expectations, values, and goals of your organization because you can't evaluate it. So how do you expect them to follow it? We need to find people who can.
Coach Bartee's message is a powerful reminder. Discipline starts with culture. By showing players effort-based examples, you can reinforce what's acceptable and what's not. The better your players are, the more important it is to push them on the intangibles that separate good from elite. Now let's wrap up with the third phase, where attention to detail often decides the outcome of a game. On special teams, Garrett Clawson, analyst at Michigan, simplifies the punt return philosophy down to one key goal: get the ball back. It sounds basic, but Coach Clawson shows why it takes elite discipline and attention to detail. Let's hear Coach Clawson explain how his punt return unit turns a simple goal into a weekly advantage.
Our punt return goal is get the ball back. It's as simple as it sounds. It's as routine as it sounds. We'll cover some of the basis there. It's in detail. That doesn't just mean we go out there, we throw a unit out there, and we don't do anything. We do a lot. But get the ball back to us. It could be taking it off your foot for 6. It's alerting a fake. It's shutting down any type of scheme that's going to try to get us to draw off sides to give the offense the ball back if it's 4th and 5 or less. It's securing the football. It's fundamentals. So again, fundamentally sound units. You have to be better than us to beat us. We weren't going to beat ourselves. We were going to do everything we can to teach our kids routine football, fundamentals, the technique that can't be beat. They've got to out-athlete you, and they've just got to outplay you then to make big plays. Once we secure the ball, we want to get 10 yards. So if a team is averaging around 42 yards per punt, and you can take them down to 32, completely flipping the field position in your favor throughout the game. No penalties. We're going to play mistake-free football. Very critical on punt and punt return. I don't want to see another attempt. Now, if we're on punt return, we're okay if they draw a false start and they've got to go again. But you definitely want to see those plays that end up being big returns, stay big returns. You don't want to see a flag. It's one of the worst feelings in the world when your guy breaks one and you got to look back because a mistake was made by the blocker. You see the flag go up and that 20 to 60, 70-yard return is negated. Our strategy on punt return, we're going to be aware of down and distance. Our primary goal is get the ball back. Already discussed some of those things. Stay on sides, first and foremost. Be aware of where the ball is. If they're trying to draw you, see the ball. Don't move till that ball moves. Simple as that. Be disciplined. You alert fakes. We tell our guys specific things like put a deer in the headlights. So if it's 4th and 3 from the opponent's 40, and they're in that mid zone, that critical area where they may be thinking about going for it, they end up sending the punt team out there. They've had a strategy in place. They look for certain things. We tell our adjusters, our backers, just start putting a deer in the headlights, meaning pointing them out. Hey, 15, 15's got the fake. I got 15, 15, the fake's right here on him. 15's faking. Literally say that they're faking the punt. Call them out. You'd be surprised the number of times if you start doing this, it may get them away from actually running a fake against you. The number of times we've done this, we've seen teams on film look to the sideline kind of with palms up, like, hey, they're literally telling me we're running this fake. You still want to go for it? I'd rather not see it. If they try it, we at least know that we are covering it. Blocking punts, fair catch, returns, all part of the game. Number one responsibility, we're going to be fundamentally sound, get the ball back. Once the punt is secured, let's get 10 yards and go from there. So in theory, on every attempt, what we did a year ago at SMU, what I've done previously at a lot of the places I've been, I want to put pressure on every single attempt. So my background as an athlete, I played basketball, baseball, soccer. Football was the last sport for me to learn. I was a very average defensive back and wide receiver. My 4.8 speed wasn't going to take me too many places, but I had a niche in the kicking game for whatever reason. So I had an understanding for it. I developed and did the best I could, but I always understood the feeling of a punter is very similar to the feeling of a quarterback. If you let me sit back there, I could just tee off and I could hit bombs. But when you applied pressure, I understood that I had to limit the handling time. There had to be a sense of urgency, so maybe not as clean of a hit. The goal is to make that unit, particularly that punter, feel uncomfortable. And you guys know that feeling if you've been coaching long enough. There's teams you go against, you know they're coming. And you don't want them to. You just want it to be a clean hit. You prefer they run hold up. I've always been more cognitive of the protection than I have the coverage. Always been great in coverage. Don't even need to knock on wood because we put so much time in it. It is what it is. There's usually two kind of coaches. I'm worried about the returner. He's dangerous. I don't want him to get the ball. And then the others that I probably fall into that category. It's I want the ball off. I want protection. I want to be fundamentally sound. We're getting every punt off. We make that difficult by always sending pressure. Even in a safe look, we are always coming after you. We're going to run one play effectively. It'll be based on whatever scheme the opponent was running. We'll set it up. We'll walk through it. We'll go over this with our players. We'll emphasize certain things we see from the film and what we want to see from our team this week. And we run one play. And from there, we'll carry a couple plays with us that we can snap into on demand that either allows us to match, make sure that we have all eligibles accounted for, or we literally bring the house. 10-man rush, 8-man rush. There'll be times where we won't account for your tackles that are set wide. We're not concerned about it depending on what your team is set up in, but we'll talk a little more about that when we get to the film.
Coach Clawson's philosophy emphasizes fundamentals, no penalties, no mental errors, and constant pressure. By training players to recognize fakes, secure the ball, and flip the field with consistent 10-yard returns, Michigan builds confidence and control in the game's most overlooked phase. The lessons from Ian Shoemaker, Dante Bartee, and Garrett Clawson all point to one truth: discipline creates execution, and execution wins games. On offense, use formations into the boundary to dictate matchups. On defense, define who you are and hold players accountable to that standard. And on special teams, eliminate mistakes and control field position. That's it for this week's weekly game planning tip series presented by Lawrence First and Goal. Visit lawrencefirstandgoal.org to learn more about their mission and how you can help support pediatric brain tumor research. Thanks for listening, and as always, keep building, keep learning, and find your winning edge. We're proud to partner with the best companies that serve coaches. For your in-game analytics, go to modernfootball.com. When you win it all this year, Signature Championship Rings provides you a great design within your budget. Use Story of the Season for a modern version of the media guide and a way to raise $20,000 to $40,000 for your program. Go to storyoftheseason.com. Sideline communication is critical. Our partner, the Headset app, has figured out how to do that at a fraction of the cost. Check out what they do at theheadsetapp.com. Go Route offers you a way to call plays in games now if you're in Texas. And Gridiron Scout is the premier way to get plays into practice and eliminate scout cards. Check it out at goroute.com. And finally, Titan Sensors gives you the analytics you need for your players on player development and understanding their physical needs. Check out all of our sponsors and our content at coachandcoordinator.com.